Welcome back, New Jersey football fans, to my Hats Off podcast. It's Mark Trible here on Sunday morning with Rod Self. We got our red hats with the white P on it today. Of course, a big, big day for Philadelphia fans. A great day, but hey, hopefully that rain, if there is any, stays away and Zach Wheeler can do what Zach Wheeler does. Incredible game last night. We're going to talk about that in a second. We've got a lot for you this show. Obviously, the playoff seedings came out. We've got a lot of intriguing matchups in the first round, the second round, these brackets as a whole. We'll be spending time talking about that today. We'll be talking about it, of course, on Wednesday night, the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show. We have waited forever for a true state champion, and now we are I don't know, a month and a half away from one, I think it is. We see a lot of guys in the comments that are usually here. Derek, tough loss yesterday for the Herd, but hey, you guys are right there in Group 1. Matt Best, I know you are interested in this Cedar Creek, Timber Creek game. We'll touch on that matchup. That's an intriguing one. Bear, my guy, good morning. Glad to see you in here. And Hector, Hudson Catholic, big win yesterday. Congratulations on that. I know Dwayne, our guy, is not going to be in the chat live. He's going to watch it on replay. He's driving back from watching Trinity Episcopal in Virginia beat their rival St. Christopher's 42-7. He's on a football weekend down in Virginia, which I cannot be mad about that. How are you this morning, Rob?
I'm doing good. I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel great.
Me too. It's hard to complain right now. Last week at this time, we were talking with my buddy Justin Tinsley at ESPN about, he was trash talking us a little bit about the Cowboys. I haven't heard much from Justin this week. I don't know why. But Birds are on a bye.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is laid out perfectly, right? The Birds are on a bye this week. It just so happens to be clinching day at Citizens Bank Park.
Prediction day.
Projections.
I mean, last night was kind of like the BCS. You know, we all got a preview of what the rankings were, who would match up versus who.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool last night. That was an awesome thing. I was tweeting out and not tweeting out, but sending them out on Instagram and Facebook just to get everybody juices flowing, man. Great time of year.
It is great. Seneca finished an undefeated regular season. Coach Bill Fisher, friend of the program, friend of ours, is going to hop on here in the second segment. We're going to call him and get his thoughts on the Golden Eagles who, when you look at these brackets, you look at these groups, a lot of this stuff, back before Battle of the Beach, we could probably give you a rough estimate of some of these top teams. And I will tell you, nobody had Seneca being a top seed in that Group 3, and they are there, undefeated. Braden Davis had a great year. But we'll talk with Coach Fish about that. First, I want to mention, and I know this is a football show, but the Phillies last night. Unbelievable resolve. They're down 4-0 in the first inning. They make it 4-3 in the bottom of the inning. Timely hits.
Mm-hmm.
They claw their way back. It's 4-4. And, of course, Juan Soto makes it 6-4. He sends one of the cheap seats. And, again, then you think, there's no way they can come back again. Reese Hoskins, second homer of the game, ties it up. He came through in a huge way. Good for him. And Harper gets an RBI double with Real Muto running on the pitch. Now it's, at that point, I guess it's 7-6. But the play that summed it up to me, and the picture that will always sum it up to me that game, was the next batter. Castellanos hits a dribbler up the middle that hits the second base and jumps over Jake Cronenworth's glove out into the outfield and Harper comes around, scores, make it 8-6. And the face Jake Cronenworth made laying in the outfield or in the deep infield looking for that ball, like, you got to be kidding me. These guys just can't. It's just a picture said 1,000 words. His face was like, what? How is this happening? These guys are just making the breaks. The breaks are going their way. They got the mojo. And then, of course, We had another Schwarber bomb.
Yes, sir.
And then we had JT going deep.
How about a leadoff though?
Whew.
You know, you get you're down. I think that was the game. To be honest, I looked at I was watching the game with my wife while my kids were watching. Riley, she was watching. Raylan was jumping around on all of us. You know, Daddy's the jungle gym, but
That's right.
trying to watch the game. And once he comes up, man, and he hits that home run, I looked to my wife and I said, "It's over."
It was over.
And she was like, "But they're down 4-1." I'm like, "It's over." The bats were alive last night. They got it back. I was a little nervous after. I don't even want to say the guy's name, giving up 4 runs in the first.
Yeah, it was rough.
He got the quick hook.
It's never good.
It's like he was on the Apollo.
When you're in a big spot and your last name's Falter, that's not a good sign. But hey, look, this is what stands out to me every time I watch these Phillies in this postseason run, and even a couple years ago in the COVID year, last year as well, even coming short. What people have to realize is that Bryce Harper is so good, and he is absolutely the superstar that this city wanted, always wants, or any city would want. The superstar the franchise needed. He delivers when he plays when he's hurt. He is doing everything possible. And if you go back and think about athletes at their peak, superstar-wise, the city has seen a lot of great ones. Baseball, Mike Schmidt. You know, they had Utley, Rollins, Howard, Hamels. All those guys were top players that if they were on another team, they would have been the main guy selling tickets.
4 Aces days.
Even this team, you know, you got players like Schwarber and Real Muto, who on some smaller market teams, or not even smaller markets, some places might be the best, might be the guy, right? But Bryce Harper is the guy. And all those superstars over the years, at their peak, hey, man, you're talking about he's right up there in the city. He comes in here, decides, I want to play for the Phillies. Now, he made some money too. But there was a lot of people opening up the wallet for Bryce. He said, I want to play here. He came here. The team was pedestrian. Now look at him. And look at him, man. He's batting, what, 400 in the playoffs?
Yeah.
He's getting extra base hits. He shattered his thumb earlier this season. He can't play the field. He's had an elbow problem. Still, he goes out there. He's the best player. Every time he's up to bat, you think, these other guys, yeah, they're capable, and last night they showed it. They can knock it out of the park. They can hit extra base hits. But you know when Bryce is up, something good is probably going to happen. He's been incredible, Ron.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Bryce Harper, for me, is when he got hurt and they went on that little run, everybody was saying, is he going to come back? Is he going to mess up the vibes in the locker room and all of that? And that part, he was able to come back, still gel together, and you can see he's the leader of that team, right? Through emotions, the things he says. I mean, listen, it doesn't go past me that he, you know, knew exactly how many games that they had left to get to the World Series, to win it. Like he came out and said it the last series. So that was really, really cool. And then you watch how he's playing and where he's hitting the ball placement, things like that. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Everybody feeds off of him, right? So just to see that, and you know, I go back to the 4 Aces days when they had Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, and all that. Jimmy Rollins was the leader of that team, and him or Chase Utley, whichever one you want to think was. But our big bat, our big quote unquote superstar was Ryan Howard, but he wasn't really that vocal and that much of a leader. So I think that's the biggest difference, is that, you know, our guy that talks, our guy that bats, our guy that leads is out in the front, and he's actually doing it. It's just a little different right now coming from him.
It is. And it's also a lot of these guys came up through the organization. Yeah, there you go, Greg Mack. I love that. That he adapts that Jay-Z line. I love it. You the man, Greg Mack. But Bryce Harper chose to come here. That's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that and put yourself in that position, first off, that's not an easy position to put yourself in.
Right.
I want to go there and be the franchise face, meaning if things don't go well, they're sending the booze extra hard towards you. And he's always owned the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
He's become a part of the community, knows what the city is about. He embraces that. It's just hard for me to figure out how this run has happened. And I think sometimes it's more enjoyable to see a team get that mojo and that magic in the postseason, especially in baseball, than it is to have that team that just dominates everybody all year. It's a different phenomena, and the Phillies, and Chris is right. Harper did say, "This is my house," with an expletive in there.
Yeah,
and it is.
It
every time he gets a big hit, he's saying, "Phillies, right here." Just an incredible game. If you watch that game, you will not forget it. And if you missed it, and you're a Phillies fan, you will never forget that you missed it.
Got something. Ring the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell. Ring that bell. I'm not sure what first pitch is today. I think it's
1:30.
Well, that's what it said, but then behind the plate it said 2:30 last night. I think Fox is setting these things up and saying 1:30, and it's not the actual start time. That's what time they want you to watch.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
The park was jacked last night.
Oh, it was jacked. It was awesome. It was awesome. One thing I'm going to put this out here before we go to break, and we're going to bring on Fish here in a second. Everybody is, I'm sure, frustrated and tired as sports fans when all these games that have these major ratings, and a lot of people tune in, have these, they're just nothing but political ads. It's annoying and, it's the worst.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please do.
It's that political ad. I don't know who. I think it's Louisiana. That political ad is wild. When he says, what does he say? The next time you're in trouble, call a crackhead or something to that.
I don't know.
That one is wild.
They're all terrible.
Come on, man.
They're all terrible.
That is bad.
But I would look at it this way. This is my question to the fans out there. If you could run a political ad on any topic, not a person, but on a topic that you want everybody to know the very worst about that. I mean, you want people to watch that ad and say, we got to stop this. What would that topic be? So what is your ultimate pet peeve other people just don't really see? You need to make it public. What would your political ad be about? Doesn't have to be sports related, nothing like that. I was saying before, I don't know exactly what mine would be, but one of them would be when there's construction / the sledgehammer comes out on the concrete before 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay. 8 o'clock is start time.
Okay? 8 o'clock, not 7?
8 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Everybody works from home now, man. Like 8 o'clock. Sledgehammers?
Yeah.
I don't care if you're out there prepping, having a chat, a coffee. I would say John Smoltz. Yeah, he seems a little bit biased towards the Phillies. That's another political ad.
Yeah, I think
football officiating. We can't say that, Matt. I mean, we cannot say that.
That's come on.
We do need help. We always need help. So everybody's free to sign up. I always say that.
I think mine would be a political ad about common sense. Common sense is not so common.
No,
like
it's not.
I literally post I'm gonna give you an example. I post a flyer that has the address, start time, who's home, who's away, and then I get in the comments, what time's the game? It's like, dude, you just read the flyer. Like, it's just common sense. You post the flyer. They don't use any common sense when it comes to that. And I just have a bad thing with just the obvious and someone asking me
Well, yeah.
the obvious answer. Like
That
it's
that
right there.
happens. That happens so often.
That's my ad.
Sometimes this is a little bit less, and now I'm used to it. But in the beginning, I wasn't. Is when I'm at a game or have a picture, and I say like, "Here we are at the game of the week," Delsey, St. Joe, and immediately someone comments on it. Is there a stream? Well, I don't know. I'm at the game. I mean, what am I? I'm not watching a stream. I mean, I'm sure there is somewhere, but I don't have the link handy. I'm at the game.
Right.
But with the way the streaming is now, and Rod, with more and more streams, I've become used to that. I do kind of know in advance where to go to watch, but that's always a funny one too. Okay, we talked about the Phillies. We're going to bring on Coach Bill Fisher after break. Coach of Seneca, the undefeated regular season, the Golden Eagles. Sit tight. We'll be back, and we will review all the playoff brackets at a high level here at the end of the show as well. So sit tight. We'll be right back with my Hats Off podcast. Welcome back. Welcome back to my Hats Off podcast, brought to you by the South Jersey Elite Realty Group. Thank you guys for sponsoring the show, as always. One of the surprises this season for those of us who weren't exactly sure which team was going to step up outside of our usual suspects is Seneca, the Golden Eagles, finished the regular season undefeated with a big win over Northern Burlington last weekend. We are joined by Seneca coach Bill Fisher to talk about his Golden Eagles. Coach, congratulations on the undefeated regular season.
Thanks, Mark, man. It's been a great year, man. Loving it.
I know you lost your voice a little bit from the game on Friday, and I know you had an occasion to go to, and I believe, are you going to the Phils today, or did you go last night?
No, I'm going today, so we'll see what kind of voice I have tomorrow.
Hopefully you have none. Hopefully you have zero voice.
Yeah.
Fish, I got to say, this team has been remarkable for you. And what's it like being a part of this run? I'm sure the school is excited. The kids are excited. What's it all been like?
Yeah, when I came out here and, when the school first opened in 2003, we had that great season in 2006. And I never saw a community and a school back a program like that. And it was amazing. And, we haven't had seasons like that. We've had a couple good seasons through the year, but what we've had this season, it's like it's working all over again. Like the community, I can't go anywhere without somebody talking about our football team, and it's a special place. When you have your cheerleaders every Friday lined up outside, and we have a drum line, and we have our bird's nest. It's just absolutely packed. It's been great. I've been loving it.
Coach, what can you say about the play of Braden Davis? I know he's one of your heart and soul leaders here.
Yeah, he's we knew he was good. Like, he's just a great athlete. He's a very good baseball player. If he played basketball, he'd be one of our better basketball players also. But he just took this year and just took this leadership role and just took his game to a whole other level. And that's with a summer that had a ton of baseball. I mean, he was traveling all around. But when he came and stepped on the football field, it's just like he's a poised, confident quarterback. And we knew he could run, but the way he's running the football right now, he's absolutely amazing.
Coach, when you look at the team that you have coming up here in Somerville, what can you expect from them?
Well, we don't have any film on them. I kind of thought we were going to get Burlington Township, but then I saw Wall, couldn't get in with one win. So it was like all of a sudden it's like Somerville. So I went on last night to just look at, anything I could find on them. And, we played them in 2019 and they were awesome. They don't look like that team, but they're big. They play in a tough conference. They play a lot of Group 5 schools. So I think it's going to be a battle on Friday night.
Fish, you got some commenters in here who are very pleased for your success. Of course, Daryl Wood, our mutual friend, and Coach Cosby as well. What has it been like this year? South Jersey has so many teams. There's so many games going on. But as you start to wind through the season and you have that 0 on the right side of your record, I'm sure you start to hear from other people who see the standings and say, oh, I got to see what's going on. Fish, what's it been like this year, kind of embracing the fact that you guys have just continued to win like that?
I just, as a coach, you just love to see your team, So when you got a football team that took it, took punches right to the face last year, those kids were all sophomores. Braden was a junior. We come into this season and talk to them about, hey, we got a chance to do something really special. And obviously we didn't think this, but you get to see, 60 kids that just every week with that 0. And you talk about, being 1-0 each week. And then you're like, okay, we're 5-0. Here we go. Now a chance to be 6-0. That's been the thing that's been amazing is you just get a group of young men to you can see them start to believe the camaraderie. The practices are so much better. It's a great thing. It really is. And, to get the 8-0 and to win that game and see their faces on a Friday night, man, it's a special thing as a coach to be able to see your team be like that.
Coach, obviously Tim Mack is always on here on Wednesday talking about the Pennsauken days, but you're a Deptford guy, man. What do you remember most about your days at Deptford and the glory days there?
Well, I still say to this day, like we were the team. They were the team of this decade, my senior year, and we played them week 1. And it was Vince McEnany against Joe Corby, and we had them 8-8 with 6 seconds left, and Hicks drops back and throws a Hail Mary to Sean Arline in the back of the end zone, and we lose 14-8 in that game, and it was a great rivalry. I just loved seeing his dad and being able to go over there and talk to Vince McEnany, because him and Corby, they were legends back then, and that rivalry was huge. Corby did not like to lose to Pennsauken, but those were some great games, and that game's a memory. It's not a good memory, but it definitely is one of those games I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's funny, Fish, that memory for Coach. For Tim Mack, it's probably one of the best of his life, and I'm sure it's kind of on the opposite for you in terms of in-game action. My observation, Coach, of the way you run your program and the way that you get along with your kids and represent Seneca, you always have such a positive outlook, Fish. You always have a smile, and you do the right thing by the kids. Where does that come from? Is that something your parents instilled in you, or did you learn along the way, or how did you kind of gain that positive approach all the time?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. I got a very supportive family from day one who just absolutely loved football. I married a great wife who, loves the game also, and have 4 great kids that grew up with football with me and have embraced that also. And, and you have coaches, from Coach Corby at Deptford to Coach Bunning when I was at Glassboro State, that just talked about family all the time. I think you just learn a little bit from everybody, and then as an assistant coach, you go along the way. And, I worked at Delsey, and I worked at Southern, and I worked at Triton, and you just learn little things as you go, and I think it's just everything added up to me being who I am, and I preach family all the time to these kids, and, I treat them like a son, and I think that just, rubs off on them. So it's the way I was brought up, and that's the way I coach.
All right, Fish. Well, I'm looking at the schedule. I know here, or your past results this season. The Triton game was close. Okay, I know that one always has extra meaning for you. But your defense, other than that game, has not allowed more than 7 points in a game. Give me 3 words to describe this defense.
3 words. Well, definitely relentless. No quit. I guess, is that 3?
Yeah, we'll hyphenate it. Relentless, no quit.
Yeah.
What's the third one?
They love football. Love.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they believe in each other. We have a great defensive coordinator in Anthony DiOrio, and they run after the football. It's one thing we preach. You got to run, and they're smart kids, and they're in the right spots all the time. And again, you see that confidence, right? So you get a game where you only let up 7, and the next game you only let up 7, and you just see that side of the football just gain in confidence. So, they're just a relentless group of football players on that side.
Well, Coach, best of luck today. First off, make sure the Phillies win. Do not leave with any voice today. What's your score prediction?
I'm hoping it was the score of last night. That game was so much fun to watch. But, I think with Wheeler there, I'll take a 4-2 Phillies win today.
All right. Fish,
all right.
Congratulations on the regular season. Best of luck in Central Jersey Group 3. Hopefully we'll be seeing I'll see you Tuesday at the Unsung Hero Banquet, the Touchdown Club. Thank you again for always supporting. Yes. And enjoy yourself. Go Phils. Congratulations on the regular season.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
That's Coach Fisher of Seneca. Great guy. Yeah. Great guy. Just one guy in South Jersey you never hear anything negative about from anybody. It's just fish is fish. Glad that he could join us. His team is the top seed in Central Jersey Group 3. Let's take a quick break and come back and talk about these brackets, top to bottom, in terms of the public schools. We'll start in South 1, and we'll work our way all the way to Central 5. We got a lot to give a brief overview here. We'll go a little bit more in depth on Wednesday night, but hang tight. We'll be back right after this, My Hats Off podcast.
Joe McColgan, Nick Strom, and John Doherty have been part of a lot of wins in South Jersey football. They won on the field. Let them win for you in the game of real estate. With over $200 million in real estate transactions between the 3 of them and over 30 years of real estate experience, they're servicing anywhere in South Jersey, from the Philadelphia Bridges all the way to the Cape May Lighthouse. With one of South Jersey's fastest-growing teams, $29.5 million alone in real estate sales in 2021 and 22. First-time home buyers, seller consultations, relocations, rentals, downsizing, or if you're not quite sure how to get started in the process of real estate, give them a call for a free consultation at 609-314-9862. That's South Jersey Elite. They won on the field. Let them win for you in the game of real estate.
Welcome back, New Jersey football fans. As we said, this is the first year that we're going to have state champions. We've mentioned it a lot of times, and we're excited. Now, remember, the week before Turkey Day is the state semifinals. Those are all the public schools. Those will all be held at Cherokee for the South Jersey schools, or South and Central brackets. I'm sorry. I say South Jersey, but it's really South and Central. Here we go, guys. Group 1, South Jersey won. The top seed is Woodbury. They're going to host Pennsgrove. They beat Pennsgrove earlier in the year. They beat them last year in the playoffs. That should be a good one. In terms of, we got Shore against Manville is the 5-4 matchup. Maple Shade is the 3 against South Hunterdon. And Pittman is the 7. They play Asbury Park. That's South 1. In Central 1, Woodstown's the 1. They'll host Shalleck. Paulsboro's the 4. They'll host Audubon. Oakcrest is in Group 2. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Glassboro is the 3. They will host Keyport, the 6. And Salem is the 2. They will host Florence, the 7. That obviously the underlying question here, Rod, is what has Salem recaptured? Beating Woodbury, upsetting them yesterday 22-21 in Walnut Street. They're the 2 seed. Woodstown beat them earlier in the year 7-6. They're the 1 seed. Paulsboro beat them earlier in the year. They're the 4 seed in that bracket. So Salem gets out of the bracket with Woodbury.
Mm-hmm.
They're the 2 seed down there. They're going to host Florence. And they're really the team that it's like a wait and see. The offense had struggled. It kind of broke out yesterday in that win. So they are the team that won it last year. They won the regional championship game. Of course, there was no state championship, but that bracket, I mean, right there, Woodstown, Paulsboro, Glassboro, Salem. That's that's Central Jersey technically, but that's really South Jersey.
Yeah, I think you asked the question, what did Salem recapture?
Offensively.
I kind of think they just needed a break.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, we see a lot of teams that win championships and that following year they come back, they get rolling, or they may start off a little slow. I just think they needed just to push the reset button, rethink some things, offensively, look at what some things that they may have been doing that they've been able to get away with in the past that are just not working right now. I think that they hit that reset button. I think it was a good reset for them to get a big win at the end of the season. First, one of your rivals in Woodbury. I mean, that's a huge win for them. And going into the playoffs, now you can look at it and say, hey, we didn't beat the 1 seed. Now we can just do what we need to do to get there. But I think that was the biggest thing, just hitting that reset button.
I mean, if the seeds hold true to have those 4, Woodstown, Paulsboro, Glassboro, and Salem as the semifinals in that Central 1, that would make for
massive,
quite a weekend for Group 1 fans, especially since Woodstown plays Friday nights. They beat Paulsboro earlier in the season. That would be a rematch if Paulsboro gets there. Audubon is there. They played yesterday. Paulsboro beat Audubon, but. Hey.
I just saw something that showed that they may play each other in the first round again.
They are playing
each
other in the first round.
Okay, I didn't know if it adjusted again, but yeah.
And that, I know Chris Baker was there yesterday. He also saw Pittman get into the playoffs on Friday, beat Pennsville, win the first division title since the 40s, I think. Good for Pittman. They're the 7th seed in that South 1 bracket. They play Asbury. And Maple Shade is a team that gave Woodbury all they could handle last year in the playoffs, and they're quietly doing what they need to do. They've been there. They're the ones that had 7 interceptions a couple weeks ago, beating Cinnamon, knocking them from being undefeated. So that's a team to look out for, the 3 seed in South 1. In South 2, the 1 seed is Raritan from the Shore Conference. They'll host 8-seeded Middle Township. The 4 seed is Pleasantville. They'll host Johnson, the 5 seed. The 3 seed is Oakcrest. They'll host Delaware Valley, the 6 seed. 2 seed is Rumson Fairhaven. They're usually Group 3, or they were last year. And they're going to host Monmouth, the 7 seed. In Central 2, Point Borough reached a regional championship last year out of the Shore Conference. They're the 1 seed. They play Overbrook in the first round, who lost to Deptford yesterday. Willingboro is the 4. They host New Providence, the 5. Gloucester is the 3. They host West Deptford, the 6. I think that'll be a really entertaining game. Gloucester and West Deptford.
Yeah. I kind of like that.
That's a toughie right there. And the 2 seed is Haddonfield, who hosts Cinnaminson, the 7th seed. They met in the playoffs a couple years ago. So you look at this, Haddonfield has been the team that we've all circled from the beginning, and they bounced back last week against Sterling, but had 2 losses in a row before that. We'll see. Down in the bottom of that bracket between Gloucester, Haddonfield, and West Deptford, there's some really, really tough teams. West Deptford keeps coming on. Like Bear said, he called them out. They beat Heights last week in a big, big game for playoffs. And the week before, they shut out Salem 6-0. They have a great kicker. Not a lot of teams can say that. West Deptford in Group 2, this is, we expect these monster teams from West Effort all the time because of the precedent Clive Folsom always had. You know, they went in the playoffs 9-0 or 10-0 or 9-1. This team playing a tougher schedule than that, which I think Clyde used to have to play, really, like we have mentioned, Rod, they lost to Paulsboro close. They lost to Woodbury by a touchdown. They lost to Haddonfield by a touchdown. They ended up beating Salem, beating Heights. They played tight with Camden for half, right? They lost by 23. But so that, you know, West Effort is a team that this is, you think about the Phillies sneaking in the playoffs, right? Getting hot. West Effort's a team, they know they could play with anybody, and they could potentially see their arch rival Haddonfield there in the second round. But Gloucester is no slouch. So that's a 6-3 matchup at Central 2. That'll be a good game. All right, South 3. Delsey, the 1 seed. I saw them on Friday night. Wayne Adair wore the hat, the running back. He had not a lot of carries, but a lot of yards. I think he went 14 for 171 and 2 touchdowns, including the 20-yarder that won the game. When Ream, my guy Ream, is back, he says Willingboro is 2 teams to worry about. Willingboro is the team to worry about. They're going to roll. Ream, I'm glad to see you in here, man. We miss you. Rod, Delsey won that game. They had 4 turnovers. They had special teams miscues, mistakes. They again. Actually, let me reverse it and put it this way. If you took 99% of the teams that we see and played them against St. Joe, and said they'd be -4 in turnover differential, they'd have all these penalties, they'd have all these miscues, what would the final score be? It wouldn't be close. And
Right.
Delsey won anyway.
Right.
They just find a way, and they are so unforgiving with that run game. I mean, they can do it. You know, it's been Shoppy has been the guy who gets the headlines, and rightfully so. He's a tremendous player. We even said on Wednesday, he's in Player of the Year talk. But Wayne Adair had some monster plays in that game. So him stepping up, that's that reality check type of game. They still win 33-27. St. Joe, my hat's still off to them. I mean, this is their homecoming game. It was at Rowan because they don't have a field. We had Trevin Delgazzo on the show last week. If you missed that, go back and listen as he talked about kind of how much this season means to them, as it's Paul Sacco's final season as a head coach at St. Joe. So I was impressed with the way they kept coming. You know, they're up 14-0. You think, here we go. Next thing you know, they're down 15-14. They come back. They're up 24-15. It was a little bit like the Phillies game, actually, Rod. It went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth again. And a team in red and white won. It just happened to be Delsey that time. So that was a really good game. They're the 1 seed, Delsey, in South Jersey, Group 3.
Before you finish running off the list of names,
Yeah.
I just want to say this is probably the hardest group in the South Central.
The 3s?
It's loaded. I mean, you just started with Delsey. I mean, but you have about 3 or 4 more powerhouses that you haven't even got to. But go ahead.
That's right. Delsey will host Coach Fisher's alma mater in Deptford. The first round, they're the 8 seed. Camden East Side's got quite a hike. They go up to South Plainfield. I think it's an hour and a half ride, which in New Jersey is pretty far for a game. I remember when I worked in Virginia, we had a game where the way things were slated and kind of the way the regions were cut out due to populations, there was potential you would have to play Danville, which is on the line of Virginia and North Carolina in the first round of the playoffs. That would be probably a 5-hour ride by car, not bus. And you could potentially play them in sports where you play on a Tuesday.
Right.
You have to go 5 hours. That's like a whole day. But nonetheless, an hour and a half is a long way in New Jersey, especially dealing with the traffic. That is what Camden Eastside will have to do against South Plainfield. They are the 5. South Plainfield's the 4. Hopewell Valley is the 3. They are hosting. Who is that?
Manawan.
Matawan? Okay. Can't read my own handwriting. This is not the first time this has happened. The 2 seed is Ocean Township, alma mater, 1 Kenny Pickett. They are hosting Burlington Township, the 7th seed.
And we got to say that most of these seeds are pretty much set.
I'm going by what Gridiron tweeted out, and Gridiron is connected with the NJSIA now. So, and there were even some adjustments. I think
late last night it was a couple adjustments, but this right here is it's pretty much spot on. It may be a movement or two, but yeah, this is.
I'm taking it as official.
And Ocean Township is an undefeated team as well. This is a loaded group, man.
As always, I mean, we've expanded in terms of looking around the state more so, but when we bring this thing back down for these sectionals, again, we're looking at matchups to see how South Jersey fares outside of the West Jersey League. Ocean Township, Burlington Township, Camden Eastside, South Plainfield, Willingboro, New Providence, Maple Shade, South Hunterdon. That's what we're looking at. As the games of, we want to see how many teams we can push through. We've done an excellent job of that the last few years, and that's how the West Jersey League measures itself in terms of perception. I don't think the league itself, but the coaches within it, the teams within it, take a lot of pride in the public school football here. Central Group 3, Seneca is the 1 seed. If you missed our interview with Coach Bill Fisher on their undefeated season, you can rewind it. It was in their second segment. Go back and listen. Fish is having quite a weekend, man. He's the 1 seed. They will host Somerville the 8. 4 seed Highland lost RV last week in another crazy back and forth game. Highland's a 4 seed. They'll host Manasquan out of the Shore Conference, a 5 seed. Timber Creek and Cedar Creek, the Creek Bowl. Timber Creek's a 3, Cedar Creek's a 6, and then Camden High, number 2, against Nottingham, number 7. So, like you said, Rod, I mean, some really, really good teams.
That Timber Creek Cedar Creek game, that may be the sneaky game of that bracket, because we're looking at Cedar Creek like they've lost a couple of games and they're not as good as they were last year. But I'll tell you what, they played some teams tough. They played Salem tough. They played Camden Eastside tough. And they were in a back and forth, a really good game with St. Joe's. So I know Cedar Creek's schedule and their record may be a little bit down this year based on what they were able to do the last couple of years. But I would not sleepwalk into that game. I think Timber Creek, their offense can definitely put some points up. We've seen that this year, but that defense they have to bring it with that defense. That may be the sneaky game this year in the playoffs.
Well, I think both teams have players that are, if you take the records out of it and you just look at them out there on the field. I mean, you talk about Coleman Frazier and Aleem Parks and some of these guys. I mean, they've
Benjamin,
got game breaker players. I don't think a lot of you look at Cedar Creek, they're a 6 seed. I don't think there's a lot of 6 seeds that have guys who are capable the way they are. But also, Rod, if you think about this, it's I don't know if we always, whoever we're talking about, we just say Creek when we're talking about them.
Battle of the Creek.
Like Creek versus Oakcrest. Well, we know we're not talking about Timber Creek. Or Creek versus Highland. Well, we know we're not talking about Cedar Creek.
Right.
So this would be the battle for the Creek. Whoever wins, I think, will officially be Creek.
At least for a while until they play each other.
Yeah, until they play again, and then whoever wins it then, we'll call them Creek.
The official Creek Bowl.
Yeah. Just as long as you don't call it Crick.
I hate that,
Yeah, that might be your political ad.
This is kind of like when Remember a couple years ago, Paulsboro
Oh
and
God, yeah.
Willenboro.
It's still
It
going
was the
on.
battle of the boroughs, right?
Still
Whoever
going
won
on.
got to call. They were the real borough. So we're doing that again with the creeks. So whoever wins is the official creek. If you don't win, sorry, we can't call you creek anymore. All right.
You cannot. We cannot call you Creek anymore. James Moton, I got your text. Happy belated birthday. You are not allowed on the show right now.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Hope you had a great birthday, man.
Happy
Thanks for all you
birthday.
do. All right, that's Central Group 3. South Group 4, 1 seed Hamilton plays Heightstown, 8 seed. 4 seed Shawnee hosts 5 seed Ocean City.
Mm-hmm.
3 seed Jackson hosts 6 seed Manalapan. 2 seed Millville hosts 7 seed Lacey. Only one all West Jersey League matchup in there, and that would be Shawnee and Ocean City. The Renegades, big win over Williamstown. They had that 4-game slide, and now they've won 2 in a row. So the Renegades, as always, they get it primed up for the playoffs. And then you look at Hamilton right there. That could be a matchup in the semifinals, either a rematch with Ocean City or a matchup with Shawnee. And they used to play every year in the playoffs. It felt in the championship or in the bowl game or something. So a lot of familiarity there. Central Jersey Group 4, the top seed is Middletown South. They'll host Cherry Hill West. 4 seed Colts Neck hosts Winslow, the 5 seed. That was a matchup last year in the playoffs. I think it was the 8-1 seed. Winslow rolled in that one. The 3 seed Mainland, the 6 seed Moorestown, 2 seed Pensauken, 7 seed Long Branch. In looking at that Central 4, Mainland Pensauken be a mighty interesting matchup. I really like Mainland. I really do. I mean, that's a team that lost early. They lost that game to Ocean City, but since then, they've been tremendous. They didn't play this week. The team they were supposed to play out of the Bronx canceled due to COVID concerns.
How did I know that was going to happen? I could have told you that.
I mean,
they want no parts. They saw Mainland and was like, nah, we got to tap out. We got COVID this week, coach.
Mainland now again, it's earlier in the season, but they beat Oak Crest 49-0. They beat Atlantic City 56-26. They beat Hamilton 29-14. Those are their 3 signature wins. And then, the teams that they played that aren't up to par with them, they handled them. And on any given day, they're going to have one of the best players on the field in Jabril Mace. So Mainland's an interesting team. Pensauken, of course, undefeated regular season. Congratulations to Coach Tab and Code Red. 8-0 also. They get Long Branch.
Yep.
And that South 4, I mean, Hamilton, Shawnee, we talked about that, but Millville looks like they are ready to go.
Millville
They took care of Cherokee on Friday night. Lazio Brooks had a big game. The Orange and Blue gang is ready for the postseason. And they got a championship to defend. So,
and I always say you're not the champion until the champion falls.
Lose.
Yeah.
Like the Braves.
Yep.
All right. South Jersey Group 5, Toms River North. We saw them at Battle of the Beach. They're the 1 seed. Old Bridge will play them. 4 seeds Marlboro. They will host Washington Township. 3 seeds Cherokee. They'll host Williamstown. 2 seeds Kingsway. They'll host Southern. Kingsway was up big after the first quarter against Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit climbed back and beat them in a thriller on Friday. Kingsway played Cherokee a couple weeks ago, beat them 35-21. Could see them in the second round. Kingsway lost to Williamstown earlier in the season.
Could be a rematch.
Would see either of them if they win. Could be a rematch. Washington Township, if they were to get by Marlboro.
I think they can.
I think so, too. They would play probably Toms River North. That was the Battle at the Beach game. That was a 7-point game.
Right. Toms River is probably the favorite out of this group. However, I definitely think we have at least 2 teams that can knock them off, get them up out of here. So
I think I think you might be right.
I'm looking at Kingsway, and that division that they played, Kingsway, Cherokee, those guys, they played some tough competition this year.
Yep.
And I think that just helps you in the playoffs. I mean, I know a lot of people, talk about the playoffs and your records and all that stuff, but the strength of schedule matters.
It does.
Like, it matters. So who you play, when you play them, how you look against them, those are all things that kind of prepare you for the playoffs. So, I'm looking at Kingsway battle tested. They just had a dogfight. I mean, think about it. They played Delsey, they played Spirit, they played Cherokee. They played Williamstown. I mean, you have all of those teams that are battling week in, week out. I mean, those guys are my favorites in these groups. I mean, so I think either one of those teams can definitely give Toms River North a run for their money, and even Washington Township.
Well, Township was right there with them.
Right.
Now, that was a long time ago, but we figured we might see them again down the road, both those teams. Don't forget, Kingsway beat Toms River North in the sectional final last year on the road. Could be a rematch if the seeds held true. But I like this bracket for Group 5 football. I mean, if your semifinals are Toms River North, Washington Township, Cherokee, Kingsway, and if Williamstown gets in or Marlboro. Anyway, this is a Group 5 bracket. Now at the bottom, you got some interesting matchups. The 1 seed is Lenape. They'll host Freehold Township. 4 seed is Rancocas Valley. They'll host Atlantic City. That's a pretty interesting game, I think, for 4-5. 3 seeds Hillsborough against 6 seed Edison, and 7 seeds Hunterdon Central against the 2 seed North Brunswick.
Right.
Not a lot of South Jersey flavor in that Central Jersey Group 5 bracket. Lenape as the 1. You remember last year Lenape was the 8. And they beat Washington Township in the first round in overtime, who was the 1. And then they held really close to Kingsway. I was at that game. You were there. That was a close game. And then Kingsway ends up making it to the regional championship. So, I look at this, Rod, and I would say if you're Lenape, I'm not disparaging anybody, but I think Lenape in this Central 5 bracket, they're not going to be unhappy with the teams in there. Like the teams in that other bracket, and this is kind of the parity of those conferences and the divisions, and you play these games, you never really know how it's going to shake out in the seeding.
At the end.
And now it shakes out in the seeding. You got and I say the same thing about that Group 1 bracket. With Glassboro, Paulsboro, Woodstown, Salem. Now you've got an Audubon. You've got kind of like in the World Cup they call it the bracket of death or something. Like that's the difference. Like you're going through, and then some of these other ones. Again, nothing against those teams, but
it looks like a favorable bracket.
It's a little more favorable
for Lenape. I would agree. I don't think any of those coaches. Or teams would be disrespected by hearing that. I mean, based off of what Lenape's been able to do the last couple of weeks and who they have been able to beat. I mean, you beat Millville at the end of the day. Like, Millville came in as the heavy hitter favorite. Nobody could figure them out no matter what happened. It didn't matter who was hurt, who was out, none of it mattered when it came to Millville. And somehow, some way, Lenape did it. So, I mean, they chipped the armor, right? And they won that game. So, I mean, if you're looking at this game going in as Lenape, it's like, look, we played the biggest and the baddest all season. They played St. Augustine Prep and those teams. So they're definitely the favorite. But I have to say, congratulations to Atlantic City. That is absolutely huge. And a big deal that they actually get into the playoffs because we've known, Atlantic City to have really good talent but not make the playoffs. So hats off. Congratulations on making it to the playoffs.
Yeah, that Coach Keenan Wright and company, that is a big deal. And They've got one of the best players in South Jersey, electrifying player in Sinai DeGraffenbraid, Ice Cup. And, RV, a team that in the beginning of the season, we talked a lot about them.
Mm-hmm.
They hit a little skid. And the big win against Highland on Friday night.
That was a shootout.
Yeah, it really was. So
It was a shootout.
RV is not anywhere near AC, but this would be the acronym bowl, the RV and AC. Here's the other thing, Rod. We talk about how the West Jersey League has kind of poster boys over the years. We always mention the Shawnee team that finished 2 and whatever and went on and won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
How about Lenape? Lenape, they're on a 2-game skid. Now, they lost to St. Joe by 1 in that crazy game, and they lost to St. Augustine by 7 last week on the road. Lenape is 4-4.
Right.
They lost 4 games.
They're
the 1 seed.
In the
They're
1
the number
seed.
2 overall team in that group out of 16 teams.
Right.
Um,
And that right there, Mark,
that shows a lot, man.
It
And that's justified. I don't think anybody would argue with that, would they?
But see, that goes to the whole record thing.
Yeah.
That I was talking about earlier is and I've been saying it all season. You just want to get hot at the right time.
Right.
The record, it just get in. And the teams that you're playing, that kind of helps you and what you're able to do off of that. So, I mean, listen, I don't think anybody would argue with them being number 1 based on the seeding.
Right.
It's not. I don't care what the record is. It's not a team in there that has displayed what they've been able to display.
First 2 losses, Zaire Fleming wasn't there, so I think you look more at this team as a 4-2 team, more so because they're a completely different personality with him in the lineup. But either way, it shows the strength of their schedule. They end up as a 2 seed,
right?
Overall, out of 16, really the 1 seed in that bracket,
right?
With a 4-4 record, and I think that's justified. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the records, you can throw them out. You got to get in, but who you're playing matters.
Right.
We've said it mentality-wise. You look across the field, you see a team that isn't better than the teams in your division. You don't care what your record is compared to theirs. What did 111 wins get the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Absolutely nothing.
Not a thing.
Nothing.
Because if you take 111 and you subtract 110, you would get how many wins the Dodgers had in the playoffs this year? 1. You also, you take that same number, multiply by 1, and you'd get as many tickets as the Dodgers got home to watch the NLCS. 1.
Wow. You shooting today, Mark.
Political add that thing. Political add that thing right there. But that's the truth, man.
Yeah.
That is the truth. It's not exactly. Now, nobody wants to. And Mac always says this about that Shawnee team. Nobody wants to go into the playoffs 2-5 or 2-6. You want to win every game, but it is about who gets hot at the right time. That's how it goes. It's football. It's 1 game.
And I'm not discrediting anybody that went undefeated or has a really good record, because that's extremely hard to do. I don't care who you're playing. We all know football, right? Interceptions, punts. There's so much that can happen, and you're talking about kids that are 15 to 18, 14 to 18, so anything can happen in that situation. But who you play, your road to being undefeated or your road to being above 500 or those 2 or 3 wins, they matter. I mean, and that's just the whole thing about it is it matters. We can't discredit, who you play, when you play them, the records, the adversity that your teams go through during this whole process, man. So can't discredit that either.
Yeah, Will Hickson brings up a great point that if it's talking about sports reporters' dreams, if Timber Creek were to get past Cedar Creek in the Creek Bowl and play Camden, yeah, I mean Henson versus Timber Creek would sell a ton of tickets. and have those streams lit up
Listen,
on Friday night.
I think that one would be, I mean, the most hyped game in South Jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a complete sellout, and that would be at Camden. So it would be a sellout.
Well, let's call it what it is. Let's just call it what it is. And one of the major storylines of this playoffs is Camden High has not won a football championship in since the 70s?
Hey. All right, okay. All right.
Seriously.
Nah, you got it. Go ahead.
They've been in the mix many years, and they've had a really good run of success here recently. Coach Hinson is there. He has championship pedigree and championship aspirations. Nothing but, he wants to go to the top. They've been in the top of South Jersey all year. The time is now, right, for Camden High. That is a major topic of conversation. If they finish second, that's not going to be good enough in Camden. And you and I both know that.
I mean,
right? For the fans. No, I'm not talking about the kids.
No.
Or the staff or the school,
You're absolutely right. I think that's one thing that has been wanted in the city of Camden for so long. I mean, Camden High School, all of the accolades that they do have with basketball, the band being really good, sending guys to college through sports and even through the academic program that they do have there with the medical arts, creative arts. The one thing that has been missing is a football championship. A couple years they had the opportunity to get there. I think that was Brad Hawkins' senior year when they faced Delsey. You looked at the stands that day, they were out to see Camden High win that. So I don't know if there would be a better script for Coach Henson.
Right.
To come back to the school that you went to, played for. You wore number 13. I wore number 13 too. So to come back and win where you're from the first year and to change that program around and to do it in the way that he's been able to do it, that would be huge. And when I say change the program around, I don't mean that the last regime was bad or anything. I'm just talking about it in terms of coming in, being able to get one, right? So I'm talking about that part of it.
Well, don't forget the kids on that team that played last year didn't play in the playoffs.
Right,
they
because
were disqualified due to the fight against Pleasantville. So,
and while you said Pleasantville, you got to give them a huge shout out too. For turning things around.
Yeah, for sure. Coach Timberlake's doing a great job. So I think it's going to be a lot of big storylines in this playoffs, and that could be one of them. And in the second round, Mac always says, we don't like
looking ahead.
Coaches don't like when I look ahead, but I look at the bracket and I do think about that because I got to think, well, where could we possibly be next week? I mean, you could have Haddonfield and West Deptford in the second round. You could have Paulsboro and Woodstown in the second round. You could have Hamilton and Shawnee in the second round. You could have Pensacola and Mainland in the second round. You could have Timber Creek, Camden in the second. I mean, you could have Delsey, Camden, Eastside in the second round. Like, all right, Kingsway, Cherokee. Now that's a 6-7 potential second round games. How good are these playoffs going to be? I mean, they're going to be epic. This is what it's all about.
Bro,
I can't wait.
You have no idea what that weekend would be. If that holds true to what we're looking at, that is a huge weekend. Yeah. Because they're all right here. They're all close to us. Yep. So somehow, some way, we have some type of friendship, partnership. We know them. We've grown up watching these teams. So it will make for great football.
It would. We're excited. We're going to preview everything in depth on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. right here, wherever you're watching this show. If you're listening, just search the South Jersey Football Frenzy Show on Spotify or Apple to find the recent podcast audio versions. We appreciate you guys tuning in. It is a gray day here, but hopefully it's nothing but sunshine on the Philadelphia Phillies today.
Mar-
Seneca Highland, another great matchup. Yeah.
You brought something up, right?
Mhm.
And I hate to go back to the well, I don't hate to it, but let's go back. The Camden possibly playing Timber Creek, right?
Yeah.
How about Camden possibly playing Cedar Creek? Do we forget what that matchup was?
It was a championship game as well.
I mean, you can't script this. Either way you go, I mean, of course, for the people down here, the Timber Creek Camden would be the biggest, but we cannot forget the history between Camden High School and Cedar Creek as well. I just needed to throw that out.
Well, even a step further, Rod, the number 1 and 2 teams the last few weeks for us have been Delsey and Camden.
Right.
Neither have lost in the state. And, I remember Delsey ending Rob Hinson's win streak at Timber Creek in the championship game or in the semifinal at Timber Creek. I mean, so Delsey's another team. If you say if Delsey plays Camden, they had some classics too, Delsey and Timber Creek.
We not bringing that up. We're not bringing up Aiden Bourget rushing for 300+ yards. We're not forgetting we're not going to bring up the punt that we didn't that hit off the player's leg. Listen,
man,
you're bringing
Mason
back
Maxwell,
nightmares, man.
Mason Maxwell. There's some more Maxwells to come on this.
We're not bringing that up.
Zach
today.
Maxwell interception to clinch the game on Friday night.
Come on.
There's more Maxwells. There's always Maxwell. As I said, if Delsey doesn't have a Klaus, if Delsey doesn't have a Maxwell and Haddonfield doesn't have a Klaus, the game is not officially
Come on.
not official in the book.
Those are nightmares, man.
Yeah. We'll see. It'll be an interesting game, and I mean, not an interesting game, it'll be an interesting weekend of games. Appreciate everybody tuning in. The Eagles are off this week. Back at it next week, 1:00 on Sunday at home against Pittsburgh. Phillies this afternoon, early afternoon, looking to clinch with Zach Wheeler on a bump. Bryce Harper, superstar. A lot of playoff action to cover on Wednesday. Be sure to tune in. Until then, guys, get ready, bundle up. Go Phillies. Thanks for watching my Hats Off podcast. Thank you to Rod Self, Studio B, D2 Sports Network for putting us on, and Sully, Glory Days Magazine, as well as South Jersey Elite Realty Group, who sponsors the show. We'll see you guys next week. Good luck. For Mark Trible and Rod Self,